Hey, Andre. Hi, everybody. I'm Ullrson, and welcome to this interview. Today, I'm speaking with André Jooste. That's how you pronounce it, isn't it, Andre?
It's Jooste.
Jooste. Jooste.
Yes, that's it. That's it.
Okay, also known as Norseruna. He's a veteran tattoo artist, graphic designer, rune shaman, and Norse mythology expert who's been crafting bind runes, family crests, Viking tattoos, and even NFTs for clients around the world. Recently, he created the cover art. This is it here, my t-shirt for my latest track, Heimdallr's Call. We talk about that, the symbolism behind his work, and also touch on his Afrikaans heritage and how recent world events have affected him as an artist. Let's get into it. Okay, Andre, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
No, good. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, and thanks very much for your amazing artwork. Much appreciated.
Oh,
Um,
huge pleasure, man.
okay, so you've been freelancing for over 20 years. How did your creative journey begin?
Officially, it started, I did my degree in animation. Never worked as an animator. After I graduated, I went to London, just basically have a gap year. And there, one of my friends did his tattoo apprenticeship. And I always wanted to tattoo, but my parents weren't too crazy about that idea. And I just decided, you know what? I've got to do what I've got to do. My gap year became like almost 4 years. And yeah, I didn't really work there for that long. About 3, 4 months after I finished my apprenticeship, I came back to South Africa.
Wow. So what year was that you were there in London?
Early 2000s, that was 2003, I believe. Yeah, I came back.
So which part of London did you live in?
I only stayed in London for about, say, 6 months or so. And then I moved to Manchester. That's where I did my apprenticeship.
Oh, okay, nice. And did you used to go to the walkabout in London when you lived there?
I've got to be honest, when I was in London, I didn't really do any of the like touristy stuff or anything.
Yeah.
The first 6 months I did nighttime security, so I worked from 7 to 7 and slept through the day.
So what about Manchester? How was your experience in Manchester?
Back then it was very hard because in the tattoo studio from like 11 to about 7 or so, and then you don't get paid for your apprenticeship. And I had to do something. So I did, well, nighttime security, and I also did hospital porter work and stuff like that. So I slept 3, 4 hours a night. But back then, I suppose if you're hungry for knowledge, you're willing to do it.
Yeah, nice. Okay, excellent. And when did you start getting into the Viking stuff and Norse mythology? Has that been going on for years?
Yeah, definitely. It's actually weird. When I started writing my book, I went through all my esoteric books and books on runes and stuff like that. And I actually found the first book on rune lore that I bought. And it was in 1995. I was like 14, 15. Yeah, it's been with me quite a while.
Wow. So has the occult and the esoteric stuff been a sort of passion for you ever since you were a kid?
Definitely, definitely. I always had something with religion and mythology and stuff like that. It always, I want to say, bothered me. Something just, yeah.
So you had your first rune book in '94 when you're like 14. So at that stage, did you know about your ancestry and your background?
Not really. I knew I had German heritage from my one grandfather. He was quite into his family and like family crests and stuff like that. He's probably the one that got me into like family heritage and stuff like that. He used to do woodwork, and I remember him doing like all these crests for his friends and whatever. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So he's like an inspiration for you.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So have you got like a mixture of like German and Dutch heritage of Afrikaans?
I'm mostly German. There's some Irish in, there's some French in. I always joke and tell my wife and my friends or whatever, I'm like Eurotrash. I'm something of everything.
Yeah, I think a lot of
But I
us are.
suppose we all are. But yeah, most South Africans is predominantly Dutch. I probably do have some Dutch somewhere in the mix, but it's not that prominent with me.
We talk about more about the Afrikaans in a little bit. Let's also talk about now about your name, Norseruna. How did you decide on that?
Norse just makes sense, and because basically my focus is on Germanic runes, and North Germanic runes is one of the oldest forms of rune, whisper, something hidden, something occult.
Okay, nice. And how long have you been going with that name?
It's been about 5 or 6 years now.
And before that, you were still doing the Viking tattoos and stuff, but you were just going by the name André Jooste.
Yeah, I was just under my own name or under the tattoo studio that I worked with or whatever.
Okay, so you are a Vitki. For those who are not familiar with the term, could you give some background as to what a Vitki does, is, and their historic role within Germanic paganism?
Okay, direct translation of Vitki is just wise one, but it's the sorcerer, where a Godi would be more like the priest, and he'll do like rituals for the people and bring people up in the religion or whatever. Where I'm more like a solo practitioner, I do teach people, but not like in a priestly way, really. I view myself more as the crazy wizard sitting on the edge of kind of Utgard, not really Midgard. And yeah, and it's where I'm physically located as well. I live on a farm just outside a big city.
Okay, on the outside looking in. Yeah, I guess the Vitki was like seen as the male role and chanting the runes like Golder and stuff. And Seither was always seen more as like the female role. And obviously Odin got called names for following the Seither. What about Seither? Do you practice Seither at all?
I suppose in some way, but not really. The thing is, I view Seder as letting energy in. And that's why it's feminine, because you're not projecting something out, you're taking something in. And I suppose if you talk to a god or whatever, you do take some wisdom in. He does speak to you and through you, but yeah, I don't really do oracle related stuff like Seder trance dancing or anything like that. But yeah, Vitki is the male version of a vulva.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you said, it's more with golden and stuff like that, and not that much into trances and yeah, letting the spirits in. It's more projecting your will out there.
It's interesting. And why do you think around the world like shamanic practices, I guess, have been seen as like male and female? I mean, in the Amazon as well, you have the ayahuasca shamans and everything. What is it about the Norse history that makes it like be seen as like a female role, whereas maybe globally it's maybe seen as both? Why do you think that is?
That's actually very interesting. I've never really thought of it in that terms. But yeah, in Northern history or culture or whatever, it is predominantly female, where in a lot of places you actually think of a shaman as a male version. And I think it's with that whole energy thing, taking it in, sending it out. And they just saw taking something in as a feminine role. And I suppose in that harsh climate of the North, you couldn't really be feminine.
Yeah, I guess there is so much going on, conquering battles and everything. Yeah, I guess the men, yeah, maybe they didn't have time for it.
Yeah, that could be it as well.
Okay, excellent. How do you typically approach designing a tattoo or crest based on Norse mythology?
Okay, first I find out exactly what the client wants, what he believes, and stuff like that. And I normally go through either some of my older work or some reference photos that I see here and there or whatever, and like just copy and paste a very rough idea. And then I redraw it just with a pencil sketch, really roughly or whatever, send that into the client. and wait until he gives me approval on that. And from there onwards, I'll take it.
And how long would you say an average design takes you from like start to finish?
Normally about 2, maybe 3 weeks. Try to do my initial pencil sketch in about a week to 10 days, and about the same for the final version.
Wow, so people really get good value. You really put your heart and your soul.
Yeah, I try to push it as quickly as I can, because there's so many that want it or whatever. But yeah, sometimes, I mean, something like a full back piece or whatever, that's going to take a little bit longer.
Yeah, definitely. And do you focus more on like historical accuracy or modern symbolism, or do you blend them both? And do you have a preference for using the younger or the elder Futhark runes?
Okay, with artwork, I believe the whole Viking art thing should be a living tradition. It shouldn't just be focused on the 6 or 7 known Viking styles. Rigorica is because it's found there. I think it should continue to grow. So I don't really have a historical style that I focus on, because I believe it should be based on the past, but it should be something new. With runes, it's difficult. I think I tend to go more younger Futhark. Most people want something Viking and not something Norse. And yeah, Viking is just 300 years in the whole history, really. But for that, it just makes more sense to go with younger Futhark, because that's what they use to write Old Norse and stuff like that. And a lot of people want bind runes of their names. And for that, I use a later version, more like a medieval rune version, say younger Futhark with stung runes, just to get those sounds, because not the same sounds were in Old Norse that's in, say, modern English nowadays. And even with elder Futhark, it's even worse. Proto-Norse and any modern language is way different.
Exactly. And do you get people who maybe they're familiar with the elder Futhark runes and you do something in the younger, and then maybe they think they know a lot and they say, "Hey, you've done this wrong. That's not how it is." Have you had that before?
A lot. Yeah, it happens all the time. People correct me all the time. It doesn't mean that, and it doesn't, and it's like, you don't know which system I used. There's 6 historical Nordic systems.
Yeah, exactly. You get people who they're adamant that they know everything, and they only really know the elder Futhark runes, and then they come out.
Yeah, or they translate like modern English directly into elder Futhark, and that's the way it's got to be. And that's not the way it's got. If they pronounced it, that's not the word.
And do they, if you correct them, have you had people getting angry about being corrected about that?
Actually, no. Most of the time, it's kind of a nice learning experience.
Yeah, okay, that's good. And your website says multi-award winning international artist. Tell us more about these awards, Andre.
Most of them were for my tattoo work, say on different tattoo conventions and whatever. The latest, it's not really an award, but the latest one was Northern Black releases a book with the top how many artists. I think the last one was like 70 Nordic artists in the world. All 3 books so far.
So did you say 70?
The last one was 70. I think the first one was like 50 something.
Yeah.
The second one was 70, and the third one, I'm not too sure. I actually haven't gotten my copy yet. Yeah, shipping takes forever to South Africa. I assume this time it's a bit more, probably 100 or so.
It's nice to be included within those people. Must be.
Yeah, it's nice to have a little recognition in your field.
Yeah, definitely. And let's go on to talk about Heimdallr's Call, my latest single that you very kindly did the artwork for. Can you tell the audience about how our collaboration came about?
I was always interested in both Viking music and electronic music. So when I heard your music at first, I was a fan. So I just wanted to be part of this.
Oh, excellent. No, that's great to hear because yeah, I remember seeing your Fiverr page when I was about to start my label, like about a year and a half ago, whenever it was. And yeah, I was very close to getting you to do my logo. Obviously, there's a lot of expenses and stuff. I ended up doing it myself, which, you know, I was very happy with the results. But then you contacted me again just by quite a coincidence because I'd already looked you up before and saying, yeah, you'd be great to do the single artwork. So yeah, I was, yeah.
That is very weird. Yeah, that is very weird.
Big coincidence. Out of all the Norse artists in the world, you were the guy I was thinking of working with anyway. So yeah, that was really good when you contacted me. Definitely. And let's talk about what visual ideas did you want to bring forward in the artwork. So here's the artwork here. I'm sure you remember it very well. So yeah, tell us about the design, André.
Okay, I wanted to do a god mask first. I love doing god mask, and I don't really get the opportunity to do that much. And obviously you have to get in the horn or whatever because it's about his call. And then in his face, I wanted to add in the like subtle elements that he was born out of, like multiple waves with soft curls and almost a nautical theme.
Exactly. And when you talk about the god masks, tell us what you mean by god masks exactly.
I suppose just from an elementary visual point of view, it's just the face of the god.
Yeah.
Speculation, they didn't really receive or found archaeologically a lot of god masks, but that they wore it in rituals and in, like, say, their practices and whatever, when the god physically took over that human.
Exactly. Let's talk about, let's maybe think about, you often get people in comments saying, oh, the Vikings didn't wear horn helmets. Well, yeah, I think most people know that. But they probably did during ceremonies and stuff. And especially the Anglo-Saxon artwork with Sutton Hoo, you've got Woden with the two ravens going like that. So yeah, let's talk about horned helmets then. So do you think in the past they were used ceremonially in ceremonies?
I do actually think that. They only found 2 partial Viking helmets so far, and they didn't have horns. And probably they went into battle or whatever. Obviously, horns would be in the way. But ceremoniously, it's got to be. I mean, okay, it's 2 ravens on Odin, but that's still kind of horns.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. And even if you look at other primitive cultures, like African masks, like African ceremonial masks, a lot of them do have horns.
Exactly, and there's the horned gods as well. So I think
there's so many in every culture. Yeah.
Let's talk about Heimdallr as a figure. I know, actually, there was one question I forgot. Is there any elements in the design that maybe people won't pick up on right away, like hidden intricacies that you'd like to talk about in the design?
No, not really. There's some Old Norse in there, but most people can translate that if they really tried. It's not like it's hidden or anything. Yeah, the most subtle thing is really the waves that I added to his face. Yeah.
The runes of the younger Futhark, aren't they?
Yes, it's a little bit past Viking age, younger Futhark. It's like literally medieval. There's some stung runes in there just to get some of those sounds right.
So tell us a little bit about the early medieval runes then in comparison to the younger Futhark.
Younger Futhark is only 16 runes. So for instance, there's no E. And they use the I for that. Where in medieval runes, they added a dot. And they call it stung runes. So they just added a dot to the I, and that transformed it into an E.
Interesting. What years do you think they were using the medieval runes?
Medieval runes were probably about 12 to 1300.
So I guess people secretly using them while being under Christianity.
Yeah, but even a lot of Christian texts were written in runes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, very true. Yeah, but I guess in like when the Norse converted, there was a period when they had to keep that on the hush. I think, wasn't there?
Yeah. The whole transition period was very weird because a lot of traditional Norse pagan beliefs They just added Jesus to their pantheon. He was just another god to a lot of them. And then came the whole thing that, no, your gods were demons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Eventually it became Jesus or die, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, so let's talk about Heimdallr as a figure. He's often overshadowed by Odin and Thor. What draws you to Heimdallr, and what do you think makes him unique?
From a human perspective, he's the ultimate human, or the ultimate being, really. He doesn't need sleep. He can see everything. He can basically fight off everything until the end. Yeah, it's weird that he's such a overshadowed figure, because he's actually such a powerful god.
What do you think he symbolizes in today's world?
He's what separates us from chaos, or from the fall that we kind of cause ourselves. He's like the last bastion of, I want to say truth, but of like humanity.
I think, I don't know if you agree with that. I think he used to be a more prominent god, maybe the same as Ullrson. A lot of this has been lost. As Rig, he was the progenitor of humanity, the creator of the class system. To me, that seems pretty damn significant.
Yeah, we don't know how exactly they worship their gods, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, you've got to be right. He can't be just a minor deity.
Yeah, it almost seems disrespectful sometimes when you hear people say secondary gods, and it's like, well,
yes, exactly.
But a progenitor of humanity, yeah, I think he was pretty damn important, and still is, of course.
Yeah, still is.
Some of that's been lost.
It's like people pick, say, 3 or 4 gods, and those are the Norse pantheon. Forget about everyone else. And that's the whole thing about having multiple gods in your pantheon. You don't have to choose. You don't have one god.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like this Christian perspective. If you don't worship or believe in me, you're gonna suffer forever. You got freedom of choice following the Norse gods. You don't even, back in the day, it wasn't like a rule, even in Vikings times, that you had to believe in the gods. There were a lot of Vikings who they were probably atheists or agnostics who didn't actually, they did their own thing, but they weren't reprimanded for it, I don't think, anyway.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so in the Skaldic poem, Heimdallr, Heimdallr and Loki fight in the form of seals over Freya's necklace, Brisingamen. Heimdallr wins and returns the golden or amber gleaming necklace to Freya. What's your interpretation of this myth? And do you think the Brisingamen has magical qualities?
Oh, well, it has to have. I believe everything in their myths or stories had a deeper meaning, really. I believe it's like the fire that Prometheus brought from the mountain to give to humans. I believe the necklace was a source of flame, divine spark.
Yeah, that's probably a good explanation. And Heimdallr and Loki are enemies destined to kill each other during Ragnarok. What do you think about this antagonistic relationship between Heimdallr and Loki?
That's bringing us back to the whole chaos and order thing. He is the good, the moral compass of humanity, where Loki, I won't say is the bad, because I mean, there's a lot of qualities of Loki that's actually quite good. Without him, most of the Norse myths or Eddas or stories or whatever wouldn't exist. He causes the problem, but he does solve most of them as well.
And what do you think about, we talked about people who just choose one god. I mean, there are people who just worship Loki. What do you think about that way?
I suppose each his own, but yeah, that whole, this is my patron god, I never really understood that. It's like, I don't want to have just one.
Yeah.
I want to pray to a different god for a different problem that I've got.
Yeah, that's what makes us polytheists and pagans, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so a lot of people have different interpretations of Ragnarok. Some say we are close to it now. What's your perspective on Ragnarok? What is it? What does it mean to you?
It does seem like we're close to it, I suppose. But 100 years ago, I'm pretty sure people would have said, hey, I think we're close to it as well. I find it's the cyclic nature of things. I don't believe there's one Ragnarok. Ragnarok happens all the time. The world goes up and it crashes down again. So yeah, I can't say if it's going to happen today or tomorrow or anything. It does seem like it's pretty close though, but what's pretty close to the gods really? It can be like 4 generations from me.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right. These things go through cycles, ups and downs. Also, like, I don't know if we're in the Kali Yuga now, within the Vedic way of thinking, or we're coming out of the Kali Yuga. But yeah, some relate the Kali Yuga as well to Ragnarok.
Yes, I think we're moving out of it.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I'm not a Vedic expert, but yeah, I think we're moving
Yeah.
out of it, thankfully, if that is the case. Yeah. Okay. Do you ever work with Heimdallr yourself? If you do you have any like ritual ideas?
I'm going to be honest, not that much really. I'm not going to say I'm excluding any gods from my practice or whatever, but very, very rarely.
Who do you work with a lot?
Odin, Raggy, Angerboda. I work with her quite a lot. Although some people will say she's not a goddess, but yeah, I'll say those three is probably the most. I like Freyr as well, or working with him as well. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
I work a lot. I work a lot with Jotnar, that people won't say is real gods or whatever. I like Jormungandr. I work with Fenrir a lot. You know.
Okay, tell us a little bit about that because yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't do that. So tell us about your experience with that, how you do it, what you do.
Let's take Fenrir for instance. People think he's this crazy bloodlust wolf just like running around swallowing everyone. But he was tied up as a little puppy because people were afraid of what he was going to become. He didn't do anything. It's like he has the potential to do something. And I think you can worship him or use him in your ritual for breaking free from something and not really the negative aspect of it.
Do you use runes for those rituals?
Yes, most of my rituals, well, especially my smaller rituals, if I do something like quick, I'll do a rune or a bind rune and I'll just burn it for that god. I'll give the god a little offering, whatever, food, incense, whatever. And then on the other bowl, I'll just burn the rune.
Nice. And do you have like different offerings for different gods? For example, Odin's often associated with red wine. Do you have different offerings for each of the gods?
Yeah, sometimes I do. Yeah, like you said, Odin, red wine, any liquor really. A nice bourbon works as well. Fenrir, I give raw meat. But I burn incense for most of the gods, to be honest.
Yeah. Which incense do you use?
Just whatever I've got, really. If I'm in a bind, I just do a quick ritual for them. If I'm going to do a prolonged ritual, I'll use something particular for that god.
Okay, cheers, André. Okay, so let's go back talking about Freya's necklace. Do you have any amulets or sacred items that you use magically?
There's a few, like I've got an oath ring, just like a normal bought oath ring that I've imbued with something and stuff like that. But most of the times, not really.
Okay, and now let's go on to a topic that can be quite sensitive. It's been in the news lately. Let's talk about Afrikaans heritage and your cultural roots and what's been going on in the news lately. Let's start with, tell us about the Afrikaans people. Who are they? What's the history?
Okay. most Afrikaners is from Dutch or French heritage. Came to South Africa in the 1600s. And yeah, we've been here ever since. My family itself were like on the third or fourth boat when they arrived. So yeah, we feel we're part of South Africa as much as anyone living here.
And how did that immigration happen? What were the circumstances of loads of Dutch and German people moving to South Africa? What were the circumstances?
In most cases, it was religious persecution that got us here.
Yeah.
Most of the settlers were Protestants. Yeah, they just wanted to get away from that.
That's very interesting as well, because I'm from a city called Norwich in England, and around about the same time, I think it was like the 16th century as well, there's a massive influx of Dutch immigrants to Norwich. And at that time, yeah, Norwich was like a third Dutch. So where I'm from in Norwich, there's a lot of Dutch settlement. And I think probably during the Viking age, yeah, there's a lot of Danish settlement in East Anglia. But I also think there's a lot of Frisian settlement as well. And the Frisians are often overlooked. But apparently there was a lot of Frisian settlement. And I think when the Anglo-Saxons came over as well, I think there was like Frisian settlement as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, interesting. Okay, and how has your Afrikaans heritage influenced your creative voice and you as an artist?
Well, I mean, my history is North Germanic. And like you said, Frisian has a lot of that as well. So my culture is my artistic voice, really. I mean, most of my work is based on that culture.
And
But
yeah, you're saying that, yeah, it's mostly Dutch who went to South Africa, but your family is mostly German. So where in Germany would your family have been from originally?
Northern Germany. It's like up in the Rhine district, apparently. I don't really know. I mean, it's been so many centuries ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
The problem with that is you can find your genealogy and trace it back to the first person that got into South Africa very easily. But taking it from South Africa back to their native country is extremely difficult.
What about your surname, Jooste? Tell us about that.
Well, the earliest form of that is probably Joost.
Joost.
Yes, our Roman justice. But yeah, it changed so much. There's Joost, there's Joost, there's Joost, there's Joostin, there's Jooste. There's a lot of different variations of that surname.
Justice. So does that make you feel maybe connected to Tyr?
It does kind of, and a lot of Forseti as well. The whole law speaker thing. I seriously believe my forefathers were like the law speakers. That was their job in the tribe, probably.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So maybe it's really good to connect with Tyr then. Definitely. And then
definitely.
Do you feel the global art community understands Afrikaans cultural identity?
I don't really think so. I think Afrikaners get overlooked as a culture quite a lot. But I don't just think it's something from the outsiders. We ourselves kind of look over our culture as well. We see our culture as what we've done like the past 100 years or whatever, and not really where we came from originally.
Yeah, it's maybe like self-deprecating. I mean, in England, like hardly anybody really knows where they come from. You know, not many people actually really know much about the Anglo-Saxons, or that they come from the Anglo-Saxons, or what happened. Because from what I remember at school, we were hardly even taught about it. I remember learning about the Norman invasion, but yeah, with regards to Anglo-Saxons and the Vikings as well, it was all new to me. You know, as an adult, I was learning all this because they didn't teach us any of this. You know, had no idea about Viking heritage or Anglo-Saxon as well. It's almost like they deliberately don't want us to know.
Yeah, our history didn't go back that far at all either.
Yeah, Yeah, okay, so yeah, so why do you think there's something nefarious about that, or what do you think?
I honestly don't know.
Okay, so let's talk about your international clients. Do you ever get any sort of like, yeah, ones who are anti-Afrikaans, for example?
I actually haven't found that at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did actually think about that on this Afrikaans guy doing like Norse stuff. Why would people want me to do it if there's the whole of Scandinavia?
Mm,
Um, but yeah, I've never had any problems or anything.
Well, I guess some people might think, oh, yeah, they get confused with this whole South Africa thing and not realizing that you're Germanic heritage, maybe. Yeah, I could actually.
Yeah, I've got a lot of people, not really in my work. I mean, if people suss me out to do some Norse work for them, they obviously did their research and whatever. But I do get a lot of people that's like, oh, but you're from Africa. How can you not be black?
Yeah, I can imagine there's some people who get a little bit confused with that. But okay, and tell us about your home city. Is it Bloemfontein? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What's it like?
I've been here for about 15 years now. I'm originally from Cape Town.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Bloemfontein it is technically a city, but it kind of feels like a small town in a lot of sense. It's got a massive farming community, and we all kind of still just go into town.
So do you live in the city or just outside of it?
Just outside of it. I'm about, say, 20 minutes or so outside of the city.
Yeah. And is there a lot of farmland? And what's it like? What's the farmland like?
Bloemfontein is open. It's not like it's like forest or mountains or anything. It's just like flat fields everywhere.
Okay, so a little bit like Holland, or the Netherlands, I guess.
Yeah, kind of like that. It kind of looks like that. But the whole of South Africa doesn't look like that. South Africa is probably the most topically diverse place ever.
So let's talk about the political headlines recently. Afrikaans people have been in the news recently because Donald Trump invited around 50, I think, Afrikaans farmers to live in the States due to persecution. A lot of the mainstream media has played it down, what is happening, and they deny there's a genocide. I watched a YouTuber called Serpensa who said it's definitely happening. And many Afrikaans were in the comments talking about awful experiences that they've had. What can you tell us about the situation, Andre?
The media here does not report on that at all. So there's like no official documents really that there's a genocide going on or whatever. Each little farming community's got their like own group, say on WhatsApp or whatever. And according to those, there's about a farm murder every 5 days.
There's a murder every 5 days.
Well, a farm murder,
Right.
like on white farmers.
Right.
Which is about only 1% of all the murders happening in South Africa. But if you take in account how big the white population is, then it's massive compared to the rest of the murders. So, yeah, it's difficult to really say because no one reports on that. But there is a problem. There is definitely a problem with the whole farm murder stories and the whole affirmative action, BEE and whatever. It's difficult for most white people to find a job. That is totally true. My first job that I applied, just out of university, animation job, one of my best friends were actually in the position to hire me. And he's like, I'm sorry, I can't hire you because you're white. And that was a friend of mine, and that was the law telling him he can't hire me.
Wow, that's horrendous. And what's the percentage of the white population in South Africa?
I'm not too sure, really. I think it's around 10%.
So yeah, it's about so 1% murders of the farmers. That is a high percentage.
That's huge. That's really huge.
Do you know people who've been affected personally?
Yes, not like family members or anything, but I'll say people that I said hi to in the past or whatever. So it's people, not friends or anything, but acquaintances. Yes.
And they're like, just they're not with us anymore because of.
Unfortunately, yeah. And the thing is, it's mostly elderly couples that they target, soft target. Yeah, it's mostly soft targets. And it's not like they just shoot the person or whatever. It's like really gruesome stuff.
Wow. And how long? Yeah, how long has this been going on?
From 94, really. But I'll say the last 10 years, it's really escalated.
And getting jobs as well. It's the same sort of timeline. Like,
well, that's been, well, when I looked for the job, that was like early 2000s.
Yeah, white people are being discriminated against within the job market. Like, that's what that guy Serpentis said in his video as well. There's all of these points that are actively discrimination.
Yeah, well, I seriously don't know of any white person that has like a corporate job really, or at least like a high position in a corporate job anymore. I don't know about that. We all kind of work for ourselves these days because that's the only way you can.
And how did you react personally when you saw the farmers arrive in the States?
I think it's a good thing for them, obviously. Personally, I don't know. It's difficult. I kind of would want to go, but I kind of want to stay here as well. I'm 40 odd years old. It's been my home for 40 odd years. So, yeah, it's as much part of me as anything. So I don't want to leave my whole world behind. But then again, I suppose if I weren't in the position that I created my own income source or whatever, I probably would have to go as well. Yeah.
So you've got your work, you've got your job. Do you feel, do you feel like sometimes you're in danger?
So far, no, not really. Well, not with the last one. The last one was actually about 2 or 3 weeks ago. But they just took my phone.
With a gun or something, or?
No, he just pickpocketed me, basically.
Yeah.
But if I had a mugging that I was in a train and the guy put his knife next to me, and it was a knife, like a dagger, massive thing. And then 3 of his buddies sat next to me and kind of cornered me. And I wasn't really in danger because I gave up my stuff immediately, but I knew if I was going to fight, I would have died.
Right. And I guess, I mean, from looking at the comments on YouTube and stuff, it seems such a common thing for South Afrikaans to be victims of this. So do you think most white South African people have been a victim of violent crime?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'll say, like, say 1 out of 5 of my friends probably got at least mugged once in their life.
Right.
But I've got to say, I feel relatively safe on the farm. I don't live here with a massive family. It's just me and my wife. But I don't really feel in danger or anything. I don't know. In some cases, I think living in the city is more dangerous, really, than living out in the middle of nowhere.
And so you actually live on a farm?
Yeah, yeah.
And do you like grow your own food, have animals and stuff?
We do have 13 pets, but that's cats and dogs.
Right.
We've got some sheep at the back, but it's a friend of ours that we just like borrowed the land for.
Yeah.
I do grow my own vegetables. I've got a nice little herb garden going on and stuff like that.
Preparing for Ragnarok.
Something like that, yes. But yeah, it's just like self-sustainable. It's not like it's a commercial farm or anything like that.
Oh, no, that's a very good idea. Let's talk about the mainstream media then. So why are they being so dismissive about what's going on, do you think?
It's not really in favor of the government.
It's not just the South African media. It seems like the global media, they seem to dismiss it. That's not happening,
Yeah, I really can't speak for other countries. I don't know why. I'm glad that it like at least the topic gets raised now. because for so many years, absolutely nothing happened. And we just kind of suffered in silence and no one knew about it. At least now, well, half of you know about it and the other half still denies it.
Yeah, and some people have been, I don't know, really nasty about it. I mean, you're seeing comments like, just because one guy was a little bit big, people were saying, "Oh, he's not a refugee. Look at the size of him." And say, "Well, yeah, he can still eat, but maybe his life's in danger of being robbed on his farm or being killed or whatever. He can still eat well. I don't think to be a refugee, you've got to be, really skinny, at death's door."
Yes, that's the thing. It's not like it's a war-torn country or anything where there's like starvation going on or whatever. It's more of like a mental thing. You've got to know any moment, any day could be your last day just because, well, sorry, but because of the color of your skin.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and are these people, they're not going to make such a massive change of emigrating to the States just for the hell of it, are they? So,
Exactly. It's not a nice thing for them. I mean, it's like I said, I don't want to leave my whole world behind. They don't want to. South Africa is a great place. It's really a great place. There's a reason why our ancestors wanted to come here. But it is difficult. It is very difficult from time to time. I've got friends that's got no job for how many years, and then they're sitting there with like 2 or 3 degrees.
Do they struggle economically? I mean, or do they get help from the government, or is it really?
No. We get absolutely no help whatsoever. Yeah, even if the government helps, which they won't help because of our skin, but if they do help, it's very little. It's really very little. Yeah.
Do you see the situation improving? Is there any way this is going to get better?
So far, it went downhill. Every year, it just gets worse and worse. Like back when I was in England, I thought, you know what, I want to go back to South Africa. If I was in that position now, I wouldn't go back.
Right. Wow. Yeah, it's very sad. Let's hope there's something improves. Why do you think Trump decided to get involved?
That I'm not too sure with. A lot of his friends are apparently South African.
Okay.
I know he comes here for like hunting expeditions every now and again. Elon Musk is a South African. His dad still lives here. So maybe he just, got told by his friends. I don't know.
Do you think this is going to be like a continuous process where more and more South Africans arrive in the States, or do you think maybe it's like maybe a little bit of a publicity stunt? What do you think?
At first, I thought it was a really good idea, and I thought it was going to be an ongoing thing. But I've got to say, the last week or so, I was thinking, yeah, it was just a publicity stunt. I don't know. I would love to see more going over there because we can't really go on like that here. But then again, maybe Trump can put some pressure on the government to change some of the laws. If some of the BE stuff changes,
tell us about
maybe
that. What's the BE?
It's not BE anymore. It's like BBBEE or something, but it's Black Economic Empowerment.
Okay.
And basically, it says there's got to be a certain amount of Black people in each company, in each position, compared to the white minority.
Right. And is it proportional or not?
It's basically no whites in power positions anymore. Yeah.
Right.
I just find it weird. We're like one of the only countries where the minority is actually not protected.
Yeah. Yeah. It does almost seem there's so much the fact that you're white, the global media that's not acceptable. You're not allowed to you're not allowed to be a victim in this situation. Yeah, which is very sad. Okay, well, let's move on to more positive topics and like looking ahead. Are there any personal dream projects you'd love to pursue in the next few years?
Well, I would love to write more books. Already got an idea or two I won't really say sequels, but yeah, carrying on. I would like to start teaching more. I've got a course out at the moment, which is very fun and very cool, but I'd like to focus more on that.
And tell us about this course that you have at the moment. You've got an online rune course. Tell us a bit about it and what it covers and who's it suitable for.
Okay, it's basically like a mail correspondence course, but it's on email. I send you the first module, then I send a lot of attachments with it, references that I wrote, articles, books to read, and whatever from other authors and stuff like that. And I give you some homework as well. You send in that homework, and I'll personally mark that. And when I mark the homework, I'll send the next module in. And at the end of that, you can rewrite your homework and everything like that. You get accredited as well.
Nice. So how long would this take, do you think?
I'll say ideally you can finish it in 8 weeks.
Yeah.
But you can take your own time. There's really no limit to it. Once you've sent your homework, I take normally about a week or so. So I'll say if you take a week for your homework, I take a week, you can finish it in 8 weeks. There's 4 modules.
Does it include Golda, bind runes, divination? What does it include exactly?
Yes, it starts off with the gods and the entities and everything, like an encyclopedia of the Norse world, telling you about the cosmology and everything like that. Module 2 will go into bind runes. We're mostly focused on the elder and the younger Futhark, not really working with the other systems.
Okay, and this book that you've been writing, it looks very, very cool. Tell us about that. What's going to be in it and when's it going to be released?
Okay, the book should be released early next year. I think so far they said like the date is the 8th of January, but pre-orders is already available, is on my bios and everything like that. The book and the course is for anyone of any level, from beginner to intermediate. I suppose even advanced people will, especially with the book, find value in it. The book is in 5 sections. It works on, well, the first section works on your words, poetry, golder, stuff like that, basically your magical intent. Because people kind of skip over that, how important your words is. I mean, it's called spelling for a reason. Then it works on runes, the second one, which is probably why most people will buy the book or try to get into it or whatever. It covers runes, it covers all 6 historical Nordic systems, 2 contemporary ones. It takes you through bind rune creations, linear, stacked, radial runes, everything. There's some divination, there's some spellcraft. Basically, it goes through everything rune related.
Excellent. Sounds fascinating. When and where will it be available to buy?
So far, it's going to be an online thing. Crossroad Books is publishing it. You can order the physical copy from them, but they'll also have it in major retailers, well, especially in the US. I don't know about the rest of the world.
Okay, well, I forgot to ask you a question as well about Afrikaans and heathens. Are there many Afrikaans heathens?
Not really that much, but there is some. There is some. That's actually what made me think of not just being a Vitki, but acting as a priest as well, because there's a lot of people here that wants guidance. They're like very interested in it, but they don't really know where to exactly go.
Yeah, and so you work in a tattoo studio. Is it specifically for like Viking tattoos?
No, I basically do everything. I specialize in Viking tattoos, and yeah, it's actually funny. It's what I'm known for in the world out there, but in my hometown, basically do
Because I saw a picture. I think you got a new studio, haven't you? Is that right? A new tattoo?
Yes.
And your two colleagues, are they heathens as well?
No. Well, no, one is my wife.
Oh, right.
She's eclectic pagan.
Yeah, yeah. So
Um,
what does
kind
that
of more,
what does that involve for her?
I'll say she's more into Celtic mythology.
Mm.
She's got a massive Scottish heritage and
Okay.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. And the other one, he works at the vape shop. I'm next to the vape shop, basically.
Oh, okay, that's convenient, I guess, if you vape. Um,
Yeah, it's quite a nice little lifestyle center, really.
is that in the city or outside the city? The actual
No,
shop?
that's in the city.
That's in the
That's
city.
in the
Okay,
city.
okay. What's one message you'd like viewers to take away about Norse art and one about the Afrikaans people?
Whew. Well, with Norse art, I'll say don't choose something that just looks nice to you, especially with runes. Let the rune choose you as well. Yeah, don't just pick something because you saw it on Pinterest or whatever and it looks nice.
Yeah.
Talk to someone that actually knows a little bit of it. Sit down with the designer and create something that means something for you.
How do you think, how could people know if a rune's chosen them, do you think?
Okay, well, if you're willing to learn the runes or whatever, go through the runes and don't view the runes as letters or whatever. Each rune is a gateway, a spirit talking to you. And meditate on each rune. I'll say simple thing, take the Elder Fu board and each night concentrate on one rune and listen what that rune means to you. Because the meaning that you'll find on a list or whatever, that's the meaning on the list. That's not what the rune means to you.
Exactly, yeah. So I mean, it's good to have a general idea when you're learning and stuff, but yeah, it is all about seeking yourself and finding out what it means to
Exactly.
you. Yeah, excellent. And Andre, where can people see more of your work and reach out with you to collaborate, to get a tattoo, to get a Viking logo design? How can people, get in contact with you?
I think the easiest is Instagram, Norseruna. That's where I'm the most active. Well, you can just Google Norseruna as well, or André Jooste, but Norseruna should take you to my Fiverr page as well. I've got a YouTube page as well, which I've horribly neglected in the past, but yeah.
You're also on TikTok. So let's talk about some of these addresses. Instagram.com/Norseruna, Norseruna.com, Fiverr, that's Fiverr.com/André Jooste, Jooste, TikTok.com/@Norseruna, and also you have a Facebook page as well. Yeah, that's great, Andre. So, well, let's say a huge thank you to André Jooste today for that really insightful interview about his history as a Viking tattoo artist, graphic designer, and also about being an Afrikaans with the current situation in South Africa. So if you're interested in Viking-inspired tattoos, you also do NFTs as well, don't you?
I have in the past, yes, I
Yeah.
have in the past.
Okay. NFTs, tattoos, any sort of like amazing Viking design you'd like, I highly recommend Andre. My Ullrson merch store is now up and running with opening discounts. Check it out at ullrson.myshopify.com. And by the time this video is posted, I hope to have all the merch available at ullrson.com. There are t-shirts, hoodies, and mugs. Thanks for watching. Andre, do you have any final message before you go?
Well, I just want to say thank you for having me. It's been very nice. Thanks a lot.
No, it's been a pleasure. My first interview. I really enjoyed it. Thanks ever so much for this amazing design. Absolutely love it.
Huge pleasure, man. Huge pleasure.
I really appreciate that. Really enjoyed chatting to you. And if you enjoyed this episode, Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and until next time, hail the gods, trust the runes, keep creating, and be relentless in your quest for knowledge. Hail Heimdallr. Cheers, André. Bye-bye.
Cheers.